Okay, get a sound test going. All right, we're good. We're good. Okay, let's get started then. So, welcome everyone. If you're joining live, really appreciate being here. If you're joining from the future, welcome back. So this is the first live stream I'm going to be doing around the newsletter I write weekly. The idea is I'm going to be talking through the newsletter that I've written up in the past week and go through some more topics like more in depth. Explain some more reasoning that I might not have given otherwise, or just kind of go things in a little bit more detail, and back and forth with anybody in chat who kind of posts questions and stuff. Will be a little bit more scripted because I'm kind of recording this to chat live with people, but also to record back and turn into a YouTube video that'll get posted out this week. So might as well get started. So the topic of the edition 1 of the newsletter is daily walks, unlock the hidden power in steps. So we'll kind of just get straight into it. There's going to be a little bit of me looking at you guys and then reading what content I've got, me looking at you guys, reading what content I've got, and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit jarring stuff, but we'll switch to periods where we'll have stuff on screen to look at, so we'll do that as well. So today I'm going to show you why you need to be doing daily walks. Fitness trends go in and out of fashion. Fitness trends go in and out of fashion. The regimes are difficult to keep up. Fitness trends go in and out of fashion. The regimes are difficult to keep up. They're sometimes out of reach for people's current fitness needs. I'm going to show you how daily walks. I'm going to show you how daily walks will impact your long-term health for the better. Now, as you're watching this, you're probably sitting down like me, sat down right now. Most likely been sitting all day. Yeah. We're humans, we're built for movement. We're not meant to be sat stationary for long periods of time. This will impact us negatively over the long term. And we need to fix this. The problem is when people talk about daily walks, they put an arbitrary number on it, 2,000, 7,000, 10,000 steps. The number of steps doesn't really matter as much as it is making it a part of your daily routine. "30 minutes walking every day. 30 minutes walking every day is the most important thing you can do for your health, second only to sleeping well." So in this video, we're going to cover the health, mind, and monetary benefits of daily walks, the creativity super boost that comes from walking, develop a personal plan to implement your daily walk, tips, tricks, and gamifying to help build the consistency of daily walks. Most people will forever miss out on this very basic but highly impactful routine. Most people forever miss out on this basic but very highly effective daily routine. Let's guarantee you're not one of them. So first section, health benefits of daily walks. This part we can share screen for a little bit. So there's been multiple studies that show the bodily benefits of daily walking. There's been multiple studies showing there's been multiple studies showing the bodily benefits of daily walking, both as exercise and just a routine. So studies and articles from Harvard Health and Publishing and National Institutes of Health. Oh, bless me. So we open these up. Oh, not like that. Open them up in a new tab. Oh. So speaking of immune function, so there's multiple benefits listed on this article from Harvard. But the one that stood out to me the most was the boost immune system function. Walking can help protect you during cold and flu season. Speaking of which, study of over 1,000 men and women found those who walked at least 20 minutes a day for at least 5 days a week had 43% fewer sick days than those who exercised once a week or less. And if they did get sick, it was for a shorter duration and the symptoms were milder. They talk about being eases joint pain, reduces the risk of developing breast cancer, helps tame a sweet tooth, counteracts the effects of weight prompting genes. Lots of interesting things around from that one. And from the National Institutes of Health, one of the takeaway quotes from this was taking 4,000 or fewer steps a day is considered a low level of physical activity. A goal of 10,000 steps a day is commonly cited, but recent studies have shown that health benefits accrue even if fewer than 10,000 steps are taken daily. So adults who took 8,000 steps or more a day had a reduced risk of death over the following decade than those who only walked 4,000 steps a day. Step intensity, so the number of steps per minute, didn't influence the risk of death, suggesting that the total number of steps per day is more important than the intensity. So you're not having to go a brisk walk or having to get through 10,000 steps in a hurry and stuff. It's more about the quantities, and I think all of these will highlight as well the consistencies over anything else. Yeah. So the literature on daily step count. So the literature on daily step count and daily walking is highly documented. Some of the biggest health benefits commonly cited are increased bone, joint, heart, and lung health, lower mortality risk from all mortality rates, lower risks of cancer, reduced risk of dementia, boosts the immune system. That's just all round better health. On top of these, there's other benefits such as walking is low impact and low intensity. Walking is low impact and low intensity, so it's suitable for anybody any age at any pace, any speed and distance. Walking is low impact and low intensity, so it's suitable for any age at any speed at any distance. It gets you outside. So more vitamin D from the best source in the world, the sun. It's what they call a cross-crawl pattern of movement, which basically just means engages both sides of the brain. This is something very, very, very important for children in early years to help build their coordination and engage neural pathways. This is something very, very important for children in early years to help build the coordination and neural pathways. I thought this tweet from Tim Carden was really, really good. Aristotle was a big believer in walking, not just Aristotle, Steve Jobs, Virginia Woolf, Nikola Tesla too. If you walk less than 60 minutes per day, open this. And there's a very, very interesting image. There's a very, very interesting image from a research paper from Dr. Chuck Hillman from the University of Illinois. Very, very clickbaity, but like it's very, very true. Like it showing the brain activity after walking and just being sat quietly. That was a really good one. Second section is the mental benefits of daily walks. If I've ever had a bad day, I've never found a situation where going out for a walk for 30 to 60 minutes hasn't helped in some way. And it's at least always improved my mood somewhat. So I might not necessarily feel 100% better, but I definitely don't feel as bad, or at least I don't feel I might not necessarily feel 100% better, but I definitely don't feel worse, and I don't feel as bad. I've never felt worse or just as bad before leaving work. So I might not feel 100%. I might not feel 100% better, but I've never felt worse and always felt somewhat improved from getting out for a walk. So, famous philosopher Hippocrates. Famous philosopher Hippocrates was quoted, "Walking is man's best medicine." And Dr. Huberman talks about some of the evidence behind this. We can have a little watch of that clip. Let me get it up. Let's have a little look at this.
8 hours in bed but still tired?
Get
These
past the
earplugs
ads.
will change that. These are Loop earplugs, and with them, you'll find.
Let's watch a little bit of this.
There's a lot of great science and a lot of great stuff related to testing and assessment of science. ag1.com/Huberman.
Not the sponsor, just go past
There's
this.
a lot of great science and a lot of great stuff related to testing and assessment of one's metabolic health that we should get into and will get into. But since we touched on lifestyle, and because we've been talking about the sort of dysfunctional dark side for a bit, maybe we could just touch on some of the lifestyle factors that you just mentioned. Because I do think it's important that people really start to feel into their sense of agency. And here we're talking about things that are relatively low time investment, certainly don't have much financial cost in the sense that they could be done in gyms and with fancy equipment, but they don't require that. Again, I want to point out that these are not like strict prescriptives, but if you had a magic wand, and because you are interested in the health of humans, let's talk about a few of these things that can improve glucose disposal and mitochondrial function, mitophagy, the removal of dead or dysfunctional mitochondria so they can be replaced. Let's talk about the walking one first.
Yeah.
You said 7,000 steps a day. I don't track my steps. What are we really talking about there? We're talking about taking the stairs and trying to walk as much as possible. Maybe if we were going to just give a really crude prescription. You're a doctor, so you can prescribe things.
Yes.
What would you tell people to do? Like, how many short walks per day? Is it like 3? Is it 5? Is it, what are we talking?
I would say at least 3. I would say aiming for more than that is good, though. So to sort of just give a sense of the picture of walking, if walking were a pill, it would be the most impactful pill we've ever had in all of modern medicine. There was a paper in JAMA, 6,300 participants followed for 10 to 11 years. And the people who simply walked 7,000 steps per day compared to less than that had in up to 70% lower risk of all-cause mortality in the follow-up period. So not
Amazing.
causality, but it's pretty incredible. They've done follow-up research with slightly different numbers showing, again, though, like many thousands of people in the study followed for about 10 years, 8,000 to 12,000 steps per day was associated with 50 to 65% lower all-cause mortality. And this has been played out in many studies showing about a 50% reduction in Alzheimer's, dementia, obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, cancer, gastric reflux, just all across the board. And I think the key thing is that it's not about the steps. It's about the fact that muscle contraction is medicine. When we contract our muscles, even in a very low grade way, like walking or doing a couple air squats, we're activating AMPK and we are essentially causing that cell to have a stimulus to push glucose channels to the cell membrane. Most of the time, the glucose channels are like in vesicles, inside, in little bags inside the cells. They're not on the cell membrane. So of course, that's going to keep the glucose in your bloodstream not being processed by the mitochondria. So when we think about steps, it's a proxy metric for just moving more throughout the day. So let's take 2 people. You have a person who's walking for 1 to 2 minutes every 30 minutes throughout the day. Maybe they're exercising at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. Maybe they're not. That person is stimulating glucose channels to be at the membrane all day. Now let's take another person who works out really hard for 1 hour in the beginning or the end of the day. They feel great about it. They've checked that off their box, but they're sitting the entire rest of the day. Yes, they have gotten the benefits from the exercise, but for a lot of that day, those glucose channels are inside the cell, not doing the work they could be doing. So I think about these little teeny short walking breaks or push-up breaks or air squat breaks every 30 minutes or so throughout the day as me essentially inside the cell pushing the glucose channels, the cell membrane, to make them constitutively active. It's totally different physiology, and it's so easy. So it's not about the steps. It's about muscle contraction regularly throughout the day. And this has been shown out in actually more clinical research, which has taken, there's been several studies, 2 that I think are fascinating, where they basically took 2 groups and they said, okay, we're going to have you walk 20 minutes before each meal, 3 times a day, 20 minutes after each meal. So that's also 3 times a day, or for like 2 minutes every 30 minutes throughout the day.
So these are 3 separate
Three
groups. So it's
separate groups.
Either 20 minutes before, either 20 minutes after, or
2 to 3 minutes every 30 minutes.
Okay.
All added up to 60 minutes of walking or light jogging a day. I'm kind of paraphrasing 2 different studies that showed the same thing. One was jogging, one was walking, but it was basically chunks versus short walks every 30 minutes throughout the waking day. The groups that do the short movement regularly throughout the day, even though the total time is the same across all the groups, have significantly lower 24-hour glucose level averages, 24-hour insulin level averages. They are metabolically healthier. And I believe, and the research mechanistically has shown, that it's because we're constitutively putting these channels of the membrane to take up the substrate, use the substrate. So this is not in to replace exercise, but I think it's a reframe. I think the concept of exercise is something we're really very wedded to in our Western culture. And you look at more like the Blue Zones and the centenarians, and it's like they're kind of moving is built into their everyday life. So we've taken movement out of our everyday life as these knowledge workers, as we've been industrialized. And then we think that exercise replaces that all-day movement, but biochemically it does not. So I think a big part of kind of digging ourselves out of this chronic disease mess and creating capacity for mitochondria is finding ways to take a lot of the activities we do now seated and just find a way to do more of them moving, standing, or walking. Or if that's tough, you really need to sit at your desk all day, then every 30 minutes taking 2 minutes to do some just light movement, flex those muscles, get the glucose channels of the membrane, get the mitochondria active. So, and I think another fascinating stat is like our gym memberships in the US have doubled since the year 2000, and obesity has gone up in the same period. So there's some mismatch between our obsession with exercise and our actual outcomes that we're seeing. And I think it's that we have not actually rebuilt constitutive movement into our daily lives.
Very interesting, because I think a lot of people are now working out, so to speak, doing resistance training, which I think is terrific.
Terrific.
Used to be such,
That was good. Oh. Nothing like that. Drink break. You. Yeah, so that was a great podcast episode between Dr. Huberman and Dr. Casey. It was really, really good. That whole section was very interesting. Obviously, they talked a little bit more about the regular movement throughout the day and not just like, we talk about daily walks and stuff, but there's more we can go on to like here and stuff. So like I've got more to talk about now. So coming back to the mental health benefits. Let's get the things out of me. Crikey. So I found the biggest mental health benefits to be these. clarity of thought. So if I'm struggling with a problem or wrestling with a thought, so if I'm struggling with a problem or wrestling with a thought or an emotion, or just feeling off and I can't pinpoint what the problem is, so I always find that during a walk, if I let go of the reins and just let my thought process go through naturally, and just listen to my thoughts, I end up and just observing my thoughts and listening. I tend to find that I reason out things quite quickly in comparison. I find that I tend to reason things out quite quickly. So, if I let go of control of my thoughts, I tend to find that there's often a conversation there that I need to have with myself. So it acts a little bit like a talking therapy where you're able to take an outside perspective and analyze things and break down logic and inconsistencies of thought and discrepancies and any contradictions. This really is the best way I've found to help me clarify and this is the best way I've found to help me clarify my thought. This is the best thing I've found that helps me clarify my thoughts and kind of get things in order and resolve resolve things that are kind of like still hanging around. So, it gets me out of the bubble. So I have this idea of world bubbles, and the idea is that these bubbles exist in our life where they encapsulate like certain activities or certain locations or certain timings within our day. So world bubbles include examples of bubbles are things like, so the most common bubbles are work bubble, school bubble, family bubble, holiday special event bubble. There are definitely lots more, but I tend to find that if I spend too long in one bubble or in certain bubbles without a lot of variety, that my mood starts to begin to slip. I find that going out for a walk and mixing up the route gets me out of this bubble and introduces enough novelty to kind of break the mold. It gives me space away from the bubble to explore the world and explore my own mind at the same time. This is another good one for all the gamers out there. Touch grass. So we don't see enough green things in our most of us don't see enough green things in our everyday lives. Just look around right now. Do you see anything naturally green? Nope. So the cliche of touch grass is a good one, actually. Forest bathing has been cited to be very beneficial in reducing stress and anxiety. So forest bathing has been widely cited for reducing stress and anxiety. So if your walk can take you into nature, then that's a major bonus. This is a big one. Quiet time. Shh. This comes back to the clarity of thought a little bit, but having quiet time during the day, taking yourself away from the digital noise, just gives your brain a rest. So this comes back to the clarity of thought a little bit, but giving your brain a break from the digital noise during the day just gives your brain time to rest. Oh. This comes back to the clarity of thought a little bit, but having a dedicated time during the day where you take yourself away from the digital noise just gives your brain space to breathe. So have a look at your phone settings and find the section that tells you your screen time and activity details for the day. So take that time and add it to whatever other time you spend watching TV and using other digital devices. Look at the total. That is the amount of time your brain is spent heavily engaged with dopamine spikes and that is the amount of time your brain is heavily engaged with dopamine spikes, cognitive load, and general stress throughout the day. Now have a think about how long you spend in complete silence. So if you've constantly got stimulus always pouring in, you've actually got no time to process all that information coming in, let alone your own thoughts. This is why meditation is so powerful, because it removes all the stimulus and brings it back to your attention. This is why meditation is so powerful, because it removes all stimulus and brings your thoughts back to and focus your attention, right? This is why meditation is so powerful, because it removes all stimulus and focuses your attention. So walks are a perfect time to get this quiet time to let you So walks are a perfect time to get this quiet and let your thoughts and emotions expand. So observe your true self. So observe your true self by Observe your true self through what your mind is intrinsically drawn to think about. Like I said at the beginning, monetary benefits of daily walks. This section is more of a bonus, but it's worth highlighting. Walking is free. If you pay to go to the gym and rarely use it, just cancel it and start walking instead. If you pay to go to the gym and never use it, just cancel it and make a habit of walking. Quicker to get going. Easier to stick to. Time flexible. Location flexible. If you commute to work or school, can any of the parts of the journey be covered by walking instead? money and time saved by not having to pick another slot in the day to have a dedicated walking time. Creativity untapped. I feel this is a big one. So beyond all the physical and mental health benefits the daily walks have given me, one of the most dramatic improvements I've seen in myself is how much more creative I am. Whenever I've run into a mental block or struggling with a problem at work or whenever I've had a mental block or struggling with a problem at work I can't figure out, or struggling to come up with content ideas, like getting up, moving around, going for a walk always gets me out of this rut. Always gets me through these barriers. So getting up, moving around, going for my walk, getting up, moving around, going out for my walks always gets me through these barriers. As you become more stationary and rigid, so does your brain. As you become more stationary and rigid, so does your brain. So when you get up and move around, the natural processes of the body warms up the brain like a physical warm up. So it can work better, also known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is defined as the ability of the nervous system to change its activity in response to intrinsic or extrinsic stimuli by reorganize its structure, functions, or connections after injuries, such as a stroke or traumatic brain injury. To quote Friedrich Nietzsche, all truly great thoughts are conceived while walking. This quote is so undeniably true. So, my best solutions, ideas, epiphanies, breakthroughs have all come through my daily walking habit. The idea of writing my newsletter and starting this YouTube channel came from my daily walk. So the idea of this video came from my daily walk. I've never really felt like a truly creative person, but through daily walks, I found my most authentic creativity. I'm convinced. Where do I start, I hear you say? So, like any new habit or routine you want to build in your life, I always recommend these. Start small. So, start small. For the first part, simply turn up. Pick a consistent time in the day. You can do it each day and give it the dedicated time like you would do a meal time or dinner time, work and study time. Pick a consistent time each day that you can do it and give it the priority it deserves, like a meal time or when you work and study. So have your shoes and coat and whatever else you might need ready there for you. When the time comes, then go outside. Then go outside and walk down the road. And then if you want to keep going, keep going. So once your first walk is done, just reflect and show up the same time the next day and try and increase maybe just the step count or just a little bit longer in terms of time, an extra minute or 2 or 5 or whatever you've got time for. Eventually you'll find it harder to not spend too Eventually you'll find it hard not to spend too much time out there. I find that a good sweet spot is between 30 to 45 minutes, but I definitely see really, really good benefits for long walks, like up to an hour as well. Mix it up. Variety is the spice of life. So find different routes to discover and explore in places that in areas that you thought you knew but maybe never fully explored. So find different routes and So find new routes to discover new places you thought you'd explored. So find different routes to discover new places you thought you knew about, like you thought you knew but maybe never fully explored. So find different routes in areas that you thought you knew. So find different routes in places that you know well. So find different routes to discover new areas. So find new routes in Oh, this hasn't been a good one, is it? So find different routes to discover new places in areas you thought you knew but maybe never fully explored. And pick short looping routes as well to be able to finish. Maybe pick short looping routes as well to be able to. Maybe pick short looping routes to be able to finish up earlier if time is limited. I have set routes that I walk that allow me to get into a bit more of a steady autopilot. With reasonable situational safety, of course. Watch out for cars, don't walk into a road. This allows me to zone out more quickly. And let me get into the flow state where my thoughts can really get flowing. Measure. So once you build the consistency of getting out for the daily walks, once you've built the consistency of getting out for daily walks, then once you've built the consistency of getting out for daily walks, then start to measure how far you walk or how long you walk for. Not to fixate on the step count, the distance or time, but simply to just see how far you can go in actually a short period of time. Most of us are carrying our forms. They'll have something like Google Maps, Google Fit, Apple, Strava, Garmin, or something tracking where we go and potentially recording our steps. They're free and good enough to see how they're free and good enough to get some insight into how this all stacks up over time. If you're still struggling, here's some powerful tips. to drive consistency and enjoyment. if you're struggling to find motivation, if you're struggling to find consistency, or motivation or aren't enjoying the walking process, the best way I've found to improve all three of these areas is to gamify things. Gamifying or gamification is simply a strategy to implement systems and processes that make the activity more like a game. As humans, we love games. As humans, we love games. As humans, we love games, and here's some of the common strategies. As humans, we love games, and there should be a strategy that appeals to you. Here are some of the best gamifying tips. Set a daily step goal. Set a daily step goal. Create a bucket list of walks and somewhere new to walk each week. Create a bucket list and have somewhere new to walk each week. Play the old Don't Step on the Cracks game from childhood. Listen to one podcast or chapter. Listen to one podcast or book chapter or language manager. What? Listen to one podcast or book chapter or language module. Listen to one podcast or book chapter or language module while walking. Walk with someone else. Last one and personally one of my favorite. See how many people you can make smile during your walk. The last one, and certainly my favorite, is see how many people you can exchange a smile with on your walk. Thanks for watching. I really do hope. Thanks for watching. I do really hope you walk away from this. See what I did there? And commit to having a daily walk. Failing that, every other day. Failing that, a weekly walk. Whatever you choose to do, I promise will only have a positive impact on your life. Thanks for watching. So that is it, peeps. I'm going to turn off this camera for now because I can feel it's getting hot already. Switch over to the webcam. So that's it for today, really. I didn't have a lot of chance to just check on if anybody joined in and stuff. I didn't see anybody in the chat. Didn't post it that there was a lot of any people joining and stuff. Hopefully one day have more people on this to enjoy it, make it more of a dynamic experience, pass questions back and forth and stuff. But for now, I think we'll leave it there for now. That was the first newsletter live stream done. I don't feel too bad after it. I was feeling a little bit nervy buying stuff, like, trying to get my message across and stuff. And it's obviously a lot more scripted. I'm kind of going through a lot more of a script that I need to go through in terms of content, because I want to be able to produce the best video out of this as I can for you guys. Hopefully, people will love it and share it and get some positive impact in their life out of watching it. They'll get on those daily walks and start building that great habit that I've seen has really, really helped me improve in a lot of ways. So I guess we'll leave it there. Call it early night. Not much more to do on this. So thanks for coming along. If you're coming back from the future, thanks for dropping in. And see you next time. Johnny.